Tonight, a group of campers suddenly cut off by the rising Bremer River. Only 7 News is there for the rescue. The southeast sudden deluge, hundreds of millimetres of rain dumped after days of heat and humidity. Brisbane's night of gun violence. A gang opens fire in the heart of the city, sparking a wild chase, and a woman shot dead in a home. Extraordinary scenes at the Gabba as the Windies record a historic win. The 50th anniversary of the 1974 floods, we continue our special series. And property prices on the Gold Coast hit a new high watermark. The average house now $1 million.
Live from Brisbane, 7 News with Katrina Blowers.
Good evening. We begin with breaking news. A group of campers has been rescued near Rosewood after suddenly becoming surrounded by rising waters. We'll cross to Bianca Stone, and Bianca, they say the water came up within an hour.
Katrina, good evening. It all happened very fast. The Bremer River broke its banks, and this evening, as you can see, it is still rising. This group had been camping at the Thargoona Shady River campground since Friday. There were 5 adults, 3 children and 2 dogs. One of those dogs is a war hero, patrol dog Pace, served in Afghanistan. Now, they were forced to call for help after becoming completely surrounded by water. They were forced to abandon 3 4-wheel drives and a caravan.
It's a warning to people that it can happen that quick, you know, and we're very, very experienced off-roaders and campers.
Do you love camping?
Yeah.
Will you go camping again?
No.
They were pulled from the water just 90 minutes ago. As you can imagine, they were shaken. No one was hurt, though, fortunately. Swiftwater crews have told me they are staying in this area tonight, with the threat still very real from the rising river, along with those forecast storms. Katrina?
The flash flooding has come after residents across the southeast were lashed by a line of storms overnight. Incredible totals, over more than 200 millimetres of rain were recorded in just minutes, and there could be more on the way.
In the darkness, it was hard to see, but the rain is all that could be heard. A deafening downpour that arrived in the middle of the night.
2:30 in the morning.
And wouldn't go away. Karen Crampton runs a family daycare at her Jimboomba home. She woke to the outdoor play area underwater.
The water content that just rushed through here was just bizarre. We've been here for 4.5 years and we've never seen that much water rush through.
Days of heat and humidity brewing storms that delivered a lot of rain.
Some very heavy rainfall overnight across the southeast. In fact, intense rainfall.
The biggest 24-hour total, 234 millimetres near Laidley. Beenleigh recorded 115, while in Brisbane, Luggage Point near the airport, 101 millimetres.
Much of this rainfall fell in a very short duration.
The result, flash flooding rapidly taking out roads across the region. Maha hired this minibus for his son's birthday. He was returning it when floodwaters intervened.
The water going to the engine and the water going high in the bus. When I started, it wasn't high, and when the engine stopped, the water coming higher.
City streets also unable to cope with the sudden burst of water from above.
With more weather on the forecast for the first half of this week, residents of the southeast are being warned that river systems that are for now holding their banks may yet still be at threat of flooding.
The Laidley Creek has already reached moderate flood levels, pushed to the limit by the overnight soaking.
It was high. Yeah, very surprising for something so short and so fast.
The southeast now on standby for what's next.
The good news out of that weather system is that it has forced the maximum temperatures to below 30 degrees. But with the persistent humidity, it is keeping things pretty uncomfortable. And that was particularly the case last night for the many thousands of people who lost power. At the peak of the storms, around 9,000 homes were without electricity across the Brisbane, Redlands and Logan area. That number, thankfully, is now down to below 200. Most of those are in the area where we are tonight in the Hawthorn region. Hopefully, they too get their power back on so they can flick their air conditioners on, Katrina. Otherwise, it could be another very sticky night.
Oh, it certainly could. Joel Dry there at Hawthorn. We'll bring in Tony Auden now. And Tony, what is the latest on this rain this afternoon?
Well, Katrina, for the most part, it's eased back after overnight and morning rain cleared, but more storms are firing away inland. Warnings are current, including around Gayndah, near Warwick, and also for areas north of Charleville, with heavy rain the main threat. Now, looking ahead, well, you have this very humid air mass lingering across much of Queensland here, fed by ex-Cyclone Kirrily in the far west. We could see more thunderstorms firing away anyway in these blue shades through tomorrow, and it will be similar on Tuesday. So no surprises that our current flood watch seems to match that area almost perfectly. Widespread minor flooding is most likely, with moderate or major flooding developing in smaller areas when that rain is heaviest. To be clear, this is not shaping up as a significant flood event for Brisbane. Katrina, I'll be back soon with the forecast.
Thank you, Tony. Now to Paige Van Lunteren in Townsville, where the clean-up from Cyclone Kirrily continues. Paige, things are thankfully now beginning to return to normal.
Katrina, the power is starting to return slowly but surely. Tonight, there are still more than 9,000 homes that will be without electricity for a fourth night. Ergon crews continue to labour in the heat and humidity. They're now expecting to have the lights back on to all affected homes by Tuesday night. Ergon has released a restoration plan online to give people a clearer picture of exactly when that might be. And there's good news for parents tonight, with confirmation the power is back on at all local and state schools, so classes can return tomorrow.
Yes, they'll be very happy about that. Thank you, Paige. People had to run for their lives and take shelter in a takeaway shop after an armed gang opened fire in the heart of the city overnight. 3 people were wounded in the brazen attack before the gunman led police on a wild chase through Brisbane's southern suburbs.
3 gunmen gunning it in a highway getaway, tearing through traffic with Polair and tactical police in hot pursuit. They dump the car in Darra, torch it, then take off on foot. The trio split up and try to sneak through the streets, bushland, front yards until a police car pulls up, hands up. The game is up for 2 alleged shooters, their accomplice vanishing. All the while, their vehicle burns.
It's massive, it's big, it's really big, it's scary.
This was less than 2 hours after the group allegedly started shooting in the inner city near a Mary Street hotel and kebab shop, where workers say people took cover from the gunfire.
It's just terrified, like people like, what's going on? I'm gonna lose my life or what? They were like lying down, some of them walked inside the store, so they just don't know what to do. They wanna save themselves.
A man and 2 women were hit,
which has resulted in 3 people receiving injuries that we would consider non-life threatening.
Police are yet to reveal what motivated this armed gang to allegedly open fire so brazenly on a busy Saturday night, but believe this was a targeted attack.
It's concerning that if anyone's got a firearm, especially in those sort of circumstances.
The 2 men from Redbank Plains and Goodna are each facing 15 charges, including 4 counts of attempted murder. Tonight, the 3rd gunman is on the run and firmly in the crosshairs of police. Garth Burley, 7 News.
Peter Dutton is remaining tight-lipped on whether the coalition will support Anthony Albanese's overhaul of the Stage 3 tax cuts.
Well, again, we'll do the figures as we're doing at the moment, and we'll make a decision and an announcement in relation to our position. But I think the most important point to make here is that the Prime Minister has broken his trust.
The Prime Minister believes he can get the tax changes through the Senate unchanged with the support of the crossbench. Police are tonight questioning a teenager over the shooting death of a woman at Morayfield. Officers were called to the unit block after a neighbour heard a gunshot.
Midnight in Morayfield, a deadly disturbance waking a quiet complex.
I just heard the police. Yeah, that was very loud. Yeah, very frightening.
Police and paramedics called after the sound of a gun firing from inside this unit. A 29-year-old woman shot in the chest.
Despite their best attempts at CPR and first aid, unfortunately she succumbed to her injuries.
Her death is being treated as a homicide. An 18-year-old man is being questioned by detectives. The pair are believed to have known each other, but the circumstances of their relationship are still unclear.
It's not considered at this stage to be a domestic violence-related incident.
Also unknown what they were doing at the complex, police confirming the woman didn't live there. Questions detectives hope to find answers to soon. Today, going to great lengths to scour the area on Grant Road. Police haven't found the firearm yet and are leaving no stone unturned, combing through the backyards of nearby houses, looking for evidence. Bins at a childcare centre across the road, the focus of search efforts last night.
Detectives and forensic police will cast a wide net over the area. We'll door knock, we'll search everywhere.
Vowing to uncover how and why this tragedy occurred. Jade Richards, 7 News.
Let's head to the Gabba now, where there's been one of the all-time Test boilovers. Ben Davis, the unstoppable Aussies have finally fallen.
Yeah, thanks to World Cricket's new cold hero, Katrina, West Indian Shamar Joseph has enhanced his and his country's reputation. The Windies, well, they haven't won here in Australia since 97, the Gabba since 88. Now, that record looks set to continue until he took an incredible 7 for 68 today. What makes it even more unbelievable, he wasn't even supposed to play with a suspected fractured toe last night.
He called me this morning, I was in my bed. After 11, the bus leaving at 12:15. He asked me how I'm feeling. I say, not well, really pain and all these things. So he said, come to the ground.
Well, that doctor's injection worked. The only wicket he didn't take, Steve Smith's, who's unbeaten 91, wasn't enough. I'll have all the highlights on an incredible day, an unbelievable day here at the Gabba in sport. Katrina?
Thanks, Ben. See you then. Donald Trump is watching his words after a New York jury hit him with a giant defamation payout yesterday. He was quickly back on the campaign trail while his only remaining Republican rival warned his legal woes are hurting the country.
Firing up supporters in Las Vegas, the former president jokes about his laundry list of legal battles.
I got so many trials. I say, which one is it, sir? That's number 14.
This after E. Jean Carroll, the New York columnist who won a sexual assault case against him, clinched an astonishing damages payout for Trump's comments about the case, $83.3 million US.
Look at yesterday. Look at all this crap that's going on.
Trump alluding to the payout. He initially called it ridiculous. Today, he appeared more cautious.
Al Capone, the great gangster, he was indicted less than me.
But his one remaining rival for the Republican nomination is saying plenty.
All that time that he's spending in a courtroom defending himself, he's not fighting for the American people.
Nikki Haley telling supporters in South Carolina Trump's legal fights are harming America's interests.
These court cases are going to go on for another year. And you know who sees that? Russia, China.
This, as the lawyer who led yesterday's damages claim against Donald Trump suggests why the jury awarded such a big sum. Because that's what it takes to make a billionaire comply.
All he really understands is money, and so you should award an amount of money that will make him stop.
In the United States, Tim Lester, 7 News.
King Charles has spent a second night in hospital following surgery for an enlarged prostate. Hugh Whitfield, when is he expected to head home?
Well, Katrina, that's still unclear, but His Majesty has received visitors here. The Queen spending a couple of hours by her husband's bedside before being seen to be driven away mid-afternoon here with somewhat of a smile. The King is said to be doing well after his procedure, with reports he has been working from his hospital bed. This, of course, is the same private clinic his daughter-in-law, the Princess of Wales, remains in after her planned abdominal surgery. Kate has just spent her 12th night in hospital. She's expected to be released in the coming days ahead of a long recovery at home. It's claimed Charles chose this hospital for his treatment rather than others nearby to keep costs down. Security measures were already in place for the Princess here. This hospital, very much the centre of royal life this weekend. Katrina.
It certainly is. Hugh Whitfield live there in London. A pro-Palestine protest has marred the women's final at Australian Tennis Open last night. Play stopped during Ariana Sabalenka's match, but it did nothing to stop the party for the back-to-back champ.
The celebrations aren't slowing down for Arena Sabalenka and her team. Well acquainted with this trophy, the 25-year-old's second Australian Open win in a row.
We all had a little drink. Some of them had not a little drink, they had a lot.
The Belarusian star competes with no flag next to her name because of her country's support of Russia's war on Ukraine. But it was a different flag that sparked drama in the Rod Laver Arena crowd. Play stopped when two protesters unfurled a Palestinian flag, albeit upside down, and chanted for all in the stadium and watching around the world to hear.
Don't upset these Rod Laver tennis fans, I tell you. No. They want to see this final.
Security rushing in, quickly ejecting the activists. It's one of several protests at the Australian Open. Play halted in Alexander Zverev's fourth round win after a woman threw papers onto the ground in support of Palestine. The Tennis Australia boss clear on his message ahead of tonight's men's final.
Tonight will be about entertainment, and we want our fans to come out and get some great entertainment, and anyone that plans on disrupting that won't be welcome.
Kate Massey, 7 News.
Anyone looking for a home on the Gold Coast might need to borrow a bigger mortgage. The median price is now past $1 million, but that didn't seem to put off buyers at the biggest property auction in the country.
Under the hammer, 127 Gold Coast properties on offer, and buyers were ready to fight hard for them. 1.1 to the very last cent.
797 and 999.
There were winners. This couple had been waiting 2 years to sign on the dotted line.
It's a funny market. There's not many supplies, but the demand is still very high.
The Aries, 1 year for a new business space.
Nervous, excited, relieved.
But they weren't comparatively cheap. The median housing price on the Gold Coast has now increased to $1.03 million, up 4.6% over the last quarter.
It's not a period of time you're going to find bargains, but it's about getting into the market.
The prices ranged from this seed and landing home, which sold for $797,000, to an apartment in Main Beach for $6.35 million.
The average price has gone up so significantly higher, so I think the gross sales value will be well past records.
The city's population is forecast to hit 1 million by 2046, adding even more pressure to the housing stock.
The lack of supply, the type of product that's being built, will probably see an increase in that median.
Increasing the value of a growing city. On the Gold Coast, Sam Payne, 7 News.
Australia has a new sprint star and her all-time record is going down in the history books. That's next. Queensland police shoot dead a young man. What led to the gunfire? Parked cars smashed up in a hit and run. And later, Queensland's top baby names revealed.
Seven News doesn't just bring you the news.
Everybody is seeking shelter.
This is where news breaks.
A $2.7 billion question mark.
Know your suburb.
The roof blown 2 streets away.
Know Queensland.
Young vandals launch themselves.
Know the news first on 7 News.
Welcome back. An alleged drunk driver has fled the scene of a crash on the Gold Coast after smashing into 2 parked cars. Witnesses say the 46-year-old lost control of his Holden Commodore just before 6 last night.
Yeah, pretty scary. Obviously a bit of speeding, so not good.
Police later arrested the man at his residence in Nerang, where he allegedly blew twice the legal limit. A Townsville street tonight remains a crime scene after a man was shot dead by police overnight. They were responding to a mental health check when police say the victim lunged at them with a knife.
A quiet suburban street turned crime scene.
307, shots are fired.
As residents slept, a man was in a fatal confrontation with police.
Very early hours of the morning, I could hear several gunshots. And that sort of woke me up.
Police say the 26-year-old lunged at officers with a large kitchen knife.
He's come back out into the driveway. Put the knife down, sir.
Officers tried tasering him. When that failed, shots were fired.
I think it was about 2 or 3 shots altogether. It was just like a pop.
Police administered CPR.
Not conscious. Might be breathing. We need QS here right now.
The victim was known to police.
I couldn't say whether they've gone to that particular address before, but we do know who he was.
Police were called to this Mount Louisa street just after midnight, but the first unit didn't arrive for at least an hour. Police say they responded as quickly as they could.
Obviously, at that time of night, we're responding to a number of incidents, and as a result of priorities and police being available, the first available unit got there at 1:15.
Just how many shots were fired and who fired them will form part of an investigation by the Ethical Standards Command.
And I hope part of the coronial process looks at what other interventions could have or may have been available to assist this person who has lost his life this morning.
Police are now providing support to the officers involved as well as the victim's family. Paige Van Lunteren, 7 News.
We have a new Queen of Speed with sprint star Tori Lewis breaking the women's 100-metre Australian record. Her time of 11.1 seconds catapults her into Australian sporting folklore and announces the 19-year-old on the world stage.
I honestly didn't even know I did it. I couldn't hear the announcer speaking, and it wasn't until all the girls were like screaming, being like, you broke it, you broke it. I was like, what?
Tori thinks she'll hit her peak around mid-year, just in time for the Paris Olympics. Young criminals are becoming increasingly brazen, even targeting a champion boxer. Next, how he's fighting back with kindness. Plus, Houthi rebel attacks escalate, setting an oil tanker on fire, making tanning uncool, a new campaign to end the trend, and an unusual highway chase in the US.
The Dams defending Brisbane against nature's fury.
We can't flood-proof Brisbane.
But we can fight back. Flashback 7 News coming up soon.
There's some relief on the way to the housing crisis in Logan. The state government has bought an old retirement village at Logan Home to turn into social housing. 124 new homes are due to open by the middle of the year.
This is the 5th former retirement village that we have purchased and secured here in Queensland to provide that immediate relief.
More than 40,000 people are on the state's social housing waiting list. An Australian boxing champ is offering to mentor at-risk kids in the fight against Queensland's youth crime crisis. Stevie Sparks' prized title belt was stolen along with his car during a night of violent crime in Toowoomba.
He's no stranger to an unexpected twist.
Oh my goodness! Stevie Spark over the top rope!
But when boxer Stevie Sparks' car was stolen, he had no idea this is what he'd be told.
I got a call from the police. They said that my car was involved in a violent crime.
An axe attack, the second that night in Toowoomba. Another crime spree ended in a 68-year-old grandfather being attacked in his own home with a tomahawk.
Get out.
2 teenagers were arrested
Behind your back.
and are awaiting trial for attempted murder.
It's terrible, mate. The youth crime at the moment is out of control. There's no consequences for these young kids.
Stevie, the Viking Spark.
Stevie's vehicle has since been returned, but without a prized trophy belt he'd left inside it.
I won the belt in America about a year and a half ago against Montana Love.
But he says the loss pales in importance compared to the urgent need to get the youth crime crisis under control.
I think these young kids need a bit of sense of direction. They need discipline and they need to be held accountable.
He's happy to mentor at-risk kids, any budding boxers in need of a goal.
I'd be more than welcome to have them in a place like this and change their sense of direction in life.
Jordan Bissell, 7 News.
The crew of an oil tanker is safe after it was hit by a missile fired from Yemen by Houthi forces. It took 20 hours with help from the Indian, French and US navies before the resulting fire on the Marlin Lounder was put out.
It was a huge fire, it's a loaded tanker, and I hope people know that what happens if a tanker goes on fire, a loaded tanker.
Analysts warn the attack is an escalation by the Houthis, who are now targeting ships outside the Red Sea and using ballistic missiles instead of drones. And a highway in the US has become a complete circus as police were called in to rescue camels and zebras. The animals had been released after their trailer caught fire. The road was closed while they were rounded up. Officials are happy to report that no animals were injured, though 2 police officers were checked for smoke inhalation. It seems the sun-safe message is being lost on the latest generation of young Aussies. New figures show 3/4 believe they can chase a tan without risking skin cancer. It's prompted a new campaign that launches tomorrow.
And here are my tips on how to speed up the tanning process this summer.
It's called End the Trend, a new campaign aiming to change habits and save lives.
Okay, just give me 10 more minutes to top up my suntan.
Australia has the highest rates of skin cancer in the world. One person dies from it every 6 hours.
I think it's just being young and dumb, to be honest. Everyone thinks they're invincible when they're younger.
New research shows 3/4 of 18 to 30-year-olds don't believe they'll get skin cancer. A third think it's fine to suntan at their age, and fewer than 1 in 10 consistently use all 5 forms of sun protection.
Unfortunately, they're prioritising the so-called glamorous over their health.
The shocking statistics have prompted the federal government to spend $7 million on the campaign to reverse our bronzed Aussie culture and remind people there's nothing healthy about a tan.
We've particularly focused this campaign, End the Trend, through media channels that young Australians use.
Let's get some SPF on this face.
Enlisting more than 50 influencers, including world champion swimmer and melanoma survivor Sam Short.
With younger people sharing their experiences with melanoma and other skin cancers, it can really send a deep message to them and we can see some change.
It's time we stopped normalising a suntan.
Rob Scott, 7 News.
Half a century has passed, but for some it feels like yesterday. Coming up, our series remembering Brisbane's 1974 floods. Plus, how Ivanhoe Dam has changed Brisbane's flood defences. That's tonight in Flashback. Voters to face another by-election in the southeast, and a night of golden guitars and glamour in Tamworth. Voters in Ipswich West will face a by-election in March after State Labor MP Jim Madden announced his resignation effective immediately. He actually declared last April he wouldn't seek re-election this year, citing his physical and mental health.
To have 2 vacant seats in the Parliament is not normal. It's a government that is rotting before the eyes of Queenslanders.
Mr Madden isn't quitting politics though, with plans to run for Ipswich Council. Labor has already pre-selected a former Anastasia Palaszczuk staffer for the safe seat. Tonight we continue our special series remembering 50 years since the 1974 flood. A third of Brisbane went under, with the river peaking at nearly 5.5 metres.
It's an event that for Brisbane residents over a certain age defines our city's history. In January 1974, everyone's world was turned upside down.
There's a lot of people, anybody over 50 will remember the floods.
Cyclone Wanda bringing up to 900 millimetres of rain over Brisbane in just 5 days. Nearly 7,000 homes were partially or totally flooded. 16 lives were lost. Just asking someone where they lived was too much.
Have you been back to see your home since?
No, I haven't been back.
Whereabouts is your home?
85 Sherwood Road, Rockley.
Power was cut for days. Looters ransacked homes and businesses.
There's a photograph of a few men on a raft leaving the 4X brewery at Milton, and the raft is stacked high of 4X beer. I think they were probably the winners in that event.
Sporting venues were transformed. Eventually the water did go down. Residents returned home to find streets of ruin and metres of mud.
I did expect it to look tragic, but not this tragic, when we got here.
But the Queensland spirit shone through. Brisbane's mud army assembled to help strangers and neighbours, as it's done again and again ever since.
Do you think you'll ever be able to get all the mud out?
Oh, if you could see where the mud went and where it... No, look, I think I've even got mud in me. That's honest, that's just how I feel.
In 1974 dollars, the damage bill was initially put at $200 million, but came in closer to $1 billion. The mental load, harder to quantify.
And that rain on the roof can really traumatise people because it brings back that memories of the heavy rain.
A recovery that took a long time and for some seems like only yesterday. Tony Auden, 7 News.
It's been a night of golden guitars and glamour as stars gathered in Tamworth for the Country Music Awards. Husband and wife duo Felicity Urquhart and Josh Cunningham took home 3 awards. Kaylee Bell was named Female Artist of the Year.
All I had was a dream and I work really hard, and I hope that you know that you guys can do this too.
The Wolf Brothers won Album of the Year. Well, when those 1974 floods hit, Brisbane's only defence was Somerset Dam. Wivenhoe wasn't built until the mid-80s. So how much of a difference might it have made? That story is just ahead in Flashback on 7 News. Sport time now, and let's head back to Ben at a pretty sombre Gabba.
Sombre, sticky and tricky. Katrina, at least for the Aussies. G'day again, everyone. Unwanted history for the locals, but the coronation of a new Calypso King for the Windies. And a next-gen takeover in the north, the Cowboys captaincy shake-up.
Hello Queensland, this week on Sunrise, a free skin check using just your phone.
A simple health tool in the palm of your hand, and it could save your life. Plus, pay off your mortgage in 10 years, out of debt and into wealth sooner.
One of Australia's leading property investors shows you how.
And holiday in paradise, it's on us. Be watching to win a trip to Jamaica.
Fly to Montego Bay, live it up like Bob Marley.
And we're on board the world's biggest new cruise ship.
Start with Sunrise.
Welcome back to the Gabba, where the Windies have just moved inside to celebrate one of world cricket's greatest boilovers, led by their new Calypso King, Shamar Joseph, who entered sporting folklore by climbing out of bed to play this morning. The Windies breached Cricket Australia's Brisbane fortress, the second time that's happened in 3 summers. Steve Smith's unbeaten 91 got Australia within 9 runs, but it was Joseph's 7 for 68 that stole it.
He ruined Australia's perfect Test summer. A virtual no-name a month ago, Shamar Joseph's 7 for 68 skittled the hosts. An unlikely man of the series performance, considering...
No, I wasn't even coming at the ground this morning.
Scenes few thought possible. Play began on schedule after heavy rain, and a hobbled Shamar Joseph returning to the middle. Cam Green wished he hadn't.
Oh, cleaned him up!
Next ball, Travis Head faced a king pair.
Big deliveries bowled him! Shamar Joseph's got 2 and 2.
The world champs teetering. Remarkable in so many ways. Shamar seemed finished last night, limping off, taken to hospital, the victim of a Stark Sanchu crusher.
I tell you what, that might have also broken his toe.
Are we keeping him in our prayers?
Keeper Carey obviously said his.
Gone eventually.
The Windies all out for 193. The hosts set a tricky and sticky 216. Khawaja out cheaply. So was the out-of-touch Labuschagne.
They've got one.
Under the microscope, Steve Smith and Cam Green were untroubled. As play resumed, they took the score from 2 for 60 to 113 before Shamar shook up the contest. In just his second test, the Guyanese paceman ripped through the middle order, leaving the hosts 7 down.
Got him! What is happening at the Gabba?
A second 5-wicket haul, too much for Caribbean cricket's newest hero.
He's overcome.
At the other end, Steve Smith stood firm, the newly minted opener as steady as a rock.
That is a shot.
Despite running out of partners, the former skipper relished the challenge.
And that is all the way into the seats.
But it was Shamar with the final word, delivering a famous victory, their first in Australia in 27 years.
I feel like we win the series. Even though it's 1-1, I feel like we win the entire series with this test.
Mr. Ronnie Hogg said we're pathetic and hopeless. Must ask him, are these muscles big enough for him?
Ben Dobson, 7 News.
The Australian women were also on the wrong side of history today, losing to South Africa for the first time in international cricket. Beth Mooney was given plenty of lives in the second T20 at Manuka Oval, dropped twice in 2 overs before the luck turned against her.
Oh, can you believe it? It was almost the impossible catch. It's taken the hand on the way through. Mooney's out of her crease.
Australia's total of 6 for 142 never looked enough on a good batting pitch. The tourists winning by 6 wickets with an over to spare. Game 3's Tuesday night in Hobart. Well, dancing, relaxing and just having fun. They're the secrets Aryna Sabalenka believes led to her winning her second straight Australian Open title. The Belarusian bulldozed China's Qing Wanzhen in straight sets, completing one of the most dominant tournaments in history.
The Queen of the Australian Open, a reign well worth celebrating.
The second one was the easiest one. No, it's still hard.
Aryna Sabalenka, the first back-to-back women's champ in 11 years, built off just having a good time.
Off the court, just like try to forget tennis life and stay away from it. And then as soon as I'm on the court, like I'm full on.
Zheng Qinwen learned that the hard way. Unable to take a set off the big-hitting Belarusian like all before her. The only thing that could stop her, a pro-Palestine protest, temporarily halting the final, only delaying the inevitable.
Sabalenka defends the title.
Yvonne Goolagong-Cawley handing over the trophy, quickly becoming a prop for Sabalenka's dance moves.
We started the tournament with the dance and we finished the tournament with the dance.
For the third straight year, a local name on the men's doubles trophy. Matt Auden winning with 43-year-old Rohan Bopanna, now the oldest Grand Slam champion.
Watch how the guy plays tennis. Like, what does age have to do with it?
James Manton, 7 News.
Todd Payton's future-proofing the Cowboys, ushering in the next generation of captains. Mackay Juniors, Reuben Cotter and Tom Dearden now have the reins. 25-year-old test forward Cotter epitomises the club's ethos, never giving up despite missing 2 full seasons with injury.
I think the people of North Queensland, in the face of adversity, they've sort of banded together and they're a very resilient community. So, I'd like us to represent community the same way.
Replacing Tamalolo and Townsend at 22, Dearden overtakes Jonathan Thurston as the youngest club captain. They face the Dolphins, round 1. Well, the Roars slide into the A-League abyss eked deeper last night in Gosford against the Mariners. After dropping just one of their first 7 games, Brisbane have lost 7 of their last 8. 2-0 defeat by the defending champs was their 3rd game in 9 days.
We were significantly the better team in the first half. Again, we missed a couple of chances, and if we take them, the game changes. Second half, it was a bit more difficult for us. We ran out of legs.
Yeah, the Roar now sit 9th on the ladder. Well, before starting the Asian Cup knockout stages against Indonesia tonight, Socceroos coach Graham Arnold's digging into his motivational playbook.
The mindset, and that is the Aussie DNA, the Aussie way, and that's we fight till we drop. That's important.
Yeah, they insist Smith Duke is over his hamstring injury to face the world number 146th ranked nation. Well, it's the perfect start to an Olympic year for our Rugby Sevens teams, both making tonight's gold medal matches in Perth. The Aussie men beat Fiji 22-7 to book a spot against Argentina, impressing new and injured teammate Michael Hooper. The Australian women were untouchable against the USA 24-7.
Has she got enough in the tank to take it the distance? Look at little Donny Toiko.
They'll face Ireland in the decider. And Katrina, let's hope there's no more Aussie boilovers.
Yes, let's hope so. Thank you, Ben. Well, if you're about to have a baby and you're looking for a name, the state government has released 2023's top picks. For boys, it was Oliver for the 11th year straight. 451 Olivers were born in Queensland last year. Noah, Henry, Theodore and Hudson round out the top 5. For girls, Isla was the most popular, just ahead of Charlotte, Amelia, Harper and Olivia. No Katrina's there. Well, Brisbane's #1 flood defence. Could Wivenhoe Dam have made a difference 50 years ago? That's next in Flashback.
And we have a fresh round of flooding for southern Queensland. I'll have the forecast and warnings next.
Seven News doesn't just bring you the news.
Everybody is seeking shelter.
This is where news breaks.
A $2.7 billion question mark.
Know your suburb.
The roof blown 2 streets away.
Know Queensland.
Young vandals launch themselves.
Know the news first on 7 News.
Since the 1974 floods, the South East has put in place a range of flood defences. But how much of a difference could Wivenhoe have made 50 years ago? Sharon Godella reports.
The 1970s saw a flurry of dam building across the southeast. North Pine Dam, 5 kilometres upstream from Petrie, worked to raise the wall and install a spillway on Queensland's first dam, Enoggera Dam, in the Gap. While stage 1 of the Hinds Dam on the Gold Coast would be completed in 1976. All would and do offer varying capacity to help control floodwaters. But when the 1974 floods hit, the only man-made defence was Somerset Dam. But because of where the rain fell and its relatively limited capacity, it could do little to prevent the disaster. In fact, then Mayor Clem Jones overruled engineers wanting to release water from the dam. They wanted to create more space. He wanted flood levels downstream to fall.
We were as slow as possible. In fact, we didn't move for quite a few hours. He heard about this, and he wasn't too pleased.
It was pathetic, and the reason we did it was to get the water down and get it away as fast as possible. It was an obvious decision, which nobody else was prepared to take.
The go-ahead for Wivenhoe Dam was actually given in 1971, but it took on extra significance in the wake of the 74 disaster. A truly mammoth project, the wall is more than 2 kilometres long. Had it been in place at the time, it likely would have held back all the water that fell upstream of it. It was officially opened in late 1985.
I'd be amazed if we could ever get anything back like the same again in future.
Wivenhoe has the capacity to temporarily hold almost 2 million megalitres of floodwaters. That's 4 Sydney harbours. But the reality is Mother Nature doesn't play by our rules. If Wivenhoe reaches its limit, like in 2011, or the rains fall below the like in 2022, Brisbane will flood.
We can't flood-proof Brisbane. Brisbane will flood in the future.
Weather now, and Tony, will Wivenhoe be tested with these current floods?
Well, Katrina, thankfully we shouldn't need to rely on Wivenhoe Dam this time. The patchy nature of the current storms means that bigger river catchments, like the Brisbane River, shouldn't rise too much. And we can see that hit and miss nature of the rain here. Sunny breaks in Brisbane this afternoon, all of that after heavy rain overnight. It built from inland storms fed by moisture from ex-Cyclone Kirrily, then spreading into thundery rain as they all moved east, bringing that, heavy falls and flash flooding for parts of the southeast before eventually clearing around lunchtime. It was a cooler day, thankfully, though still very muggy, 25 up to 29 degrees in Redcliffe. This afternoon, some more patchy, slow-moving storms through inland spots. A storm warning remains current for areas north of Charleville. Now, looking ahead, more hit-and-miss storms firing away over southern and eastern Queensland in this humid air mass fuelled by ex-Cyclone Kirrily over the far west of the state and heavy rain near that low. Flood watches are current for much of southern Queensland. Most likely widespread minor flooding, but some higher rises are possible in smaller catchments. On top of all of that, severe to extreme heatwave conditions continue for the central and tropical coasts. For northern Queensland, the main thing is the heat, and that'll feed some afternoon showers and storms on the ranges. They might just affect these major coastal locations. In the south, watch for more storms pretty much anywhere tonight and tomorrow. Heavy rain and flash flooding again will be that main risk. In the southeast, plan for more heavy showers and storms. If we get overnight activity again tonight, then it should be quieter through tomorrow. If it stays clear tonight, well, then it should all ramp up through the course of the day tomorrow. Temperatures steady and still very humid, 25 up to 29 degrees for Kenmore, 28 at Manly. In Brisbane, more punchy showers and the odd heavier storm, amongst some dry breaks as well, 25 up to 29 degrees. Then looking ahead, more heavy showers and storms on Tuesday. Again, that risk of flash flooding dropping back to 27 degrees. Then it all eases back and clears north on Wednesday with a mostly dry finish to the week. But Katrina, it's not quite over yet.
Thank you, Tony. That is all from us this Sunday, my last official weekend bulletin. I wanted to thank you all for having me in your lounge rooms every weekend for the last 4 years rather, when I took over from Kay McGrath. You all welcomed me into your homes. Your cards and letters over the years have meant the absolute world to me. But family time is calling, so you'll see me presenting the 4 p.m. weekday news instead. So signing off for now from all the team, have a great night.